Welcome to the Coachzing Show, helping you work less, earn more, and reach more people through creative content marketing. Join the Coach Zingers community, where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers come together to discover the latest trends, forge powerful joint ventures, and grow their business together. Go to coachzing.com/community to join. And now, here's your host, Doug Foresta.
Hello and welcome back to the Coachzing Show. This is the show where we help you coaches, therapists, speakers, and authors to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. And I could not be more excited to have with me today Jennie Mustafa-Julock, who is a good friend, a great coach. I've learned a lot from her, and I know you'll get a lot out of this episode. We're going to talk about community as a content marketing strategy. And this is something that I've definitely learned from Jennie, and I've certainly unabashedly stole ideas from her. So I know you will get a lot out of it. Jennie Mustafa-Julock is the Audacity Coach. She helps driven individuals on the brink of something spectacular figure out how to astonish the heck out of themselves. She is on a mission to instigate Audacity in as many humans as possible. Her BS-free approach to a so much more than life coaching has been the catalyst for her clients to launch new businesses, publish their first books, negotiate career leaps, adventure the world, and more. She also runs a seriously awesome free online community called the Audacity LAB, the League of Ambitious Badasses, that connects hundreds of these inspiring people with others who also live audaciously. And if you're itching for a more fulfilling, adventurous, remarkable life, but you're not quite sure how to make it happen, you need Coach Jennie, and you can visit her at coachjennie.com. I also think we'll also give out she has the Facebook group, her Audacity Lab, and we'll give that out as well. Jennie, welcome to Coachzing.
Thank you so much, Doug. I am so thrilled to be here. You know, I'm a big, big fan.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I am so into community right now. I think that not just right now, but I think it's a great thing. But maybe we can just back up a minute. And you're talking about the idea of community as a content marketing strategy. You know, one of the things I was thinking about is just defining, like, what is community?
It's a really interesting question because it's a word that's tossed around a lot. It's another one of our coaching buzzwords that slowly but surely means very little. But in my world, community means engagement with your audience, right? Not just talking to them or talking at them like we often do, but actually talking with them. And more importantly, listening to them.
Right.
To make sure that you're making an impact, but also to curate all of the genius in their brains, in their lives, in their experiences into your thought leadership. That's what I mean by community.
And another thing is, this is another thing that is, I just had this conversation, and one of the things people were asking me is, all right, so practically, how do I create community? And I know that you've done this really well through Facebook groups. So maybe you can say a little bit about, like, why did you choose a Facebook group as the place to house your community?
Oh, that's a really important question because, like everybody in the world, I really wanted to have a forum on my website, right?
Yes.
Because that's what you want to do. Well, but here's the thing, people, nobody's hanging out on your website. Even your biggest fans, once they start paying you, are not running back to your website every 5 minutes. And maybe you have an amazing blog, but they have to wait to get your newsletter to remember, oh yeah, she's got a blog. I should go check out her blog and go to your website, right?
Yeah.
So the reason I chose Facebook is because Facebook, thank you, Zucky, has given us this beautiful gift of free Facebook groups. And a Facebook group, unlike a Facebook page, is sacred. Right? A Facebook page, anything somebody posts on there, their entire timeline, which always includes their mom, their sister, their friends, that chick from high school, they can see what they share over there.
That's right.
But in a Facebook group, only the members of that group can see what's happening in there. And it gives people on this very public forum a more private, intimate way to engage with people. And so when the Facebook group first became a thing, I became enamored with it and very involved in it. And a former joint venture that I was working on, we started tinkering with Facebook groups. And I'll be honest, I made all my mistakes over there and then figured out how to launch the Audacity Lab in a very deliberate way. But I'm here to say it is a lot of work. I think that creating a community is the number one most effective content marketing strategy for someone who enjoys community building, for someone who enjoys hanging out on Facebook and calling that work. It is work for me going on Facebook. And a lot of people give me a lot of grief because, gee, Jennie, seems like you're always on Facebook. I'm like, yes, because that's my place of business.
Right. Right. You're not just, posting random pictures and right. There's a reason. The other thing I was going to say about Facebook that I realized as well is, like you said, it's where we already are. Right.
Oh, so important. Exactly. I post something in the Audacity Lab, and anybody that's in the lab has the option to have a notification.
Right.
And I'm really pleased to know that lots of people have that notification up. So I post something and I'll get a response within 2 minutes from someone. And I know that means that they've got a little red one that showed up on that little globe that said, hey, there's something happening in your world. And you're right. No matter how much we like to deny it, we're all on Facebook 4 or 5 times a day because we're just nosy people. And I have found a way to make that human nosiness, that human need to hang out on Facebook, really powerful for my coaching practice.
Can we also, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about how what you do in the group, but I just want to draw this connection for listeners because, a lot of our listeners, they might be authors and they want to sell more books, or they're coaches and they want to get, more, they want to build a coaching practice and get more clients. Can you say a little bit about sort of the practical translation of how building that community, how building that Facebook group up has helped you as a coach build your business?
Yes. The reason the community strategy is so powerful is because I'm not just talking at or trying to sell people my content or my next program or my coaching services. I am engaging with that audience. So every single day, I get the opportunity to demonstrate what it is I do. And tire kickers can hang out in the lab, not cost me a dime, not cost me any time, and see what it's like to give my signature cathartic shoves a go, right? They can see that in the moment. The other thing is my highly engaged clients and audience members start sharing testimonials unprovoked, without being asked, without being pitched, without a headshot, if you will. And they'll say, oh, I just got off this coaching call with Coach Jennie, and they'll share that in the lab. There's no better marketing than that, right? There's no better way to market when your raving fans are voluntarily showing up in the lab and sharing testimonials that people can actually interact with. I had a client recently post up there, oh, Coach Jennie just totally shoved me and I'm ready to launch this big thing. And 4 or 5 people follow it up with like, yeah, she did that to me once and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And it becomes really playful. And I just show up and type in a little heart,
Right.
And so much of it becomes, I'm not the only one leading this conversation. I'm co-creating it alongside my clients, my friends, my clients to be, and all these other people who are curious about what it is I do. And then most importantly for me, I didn't become a coach because I wanted to avoid coaching. I love coaching.
Yeah, we had this chat last night actually on Facebook about
There's this whole push to, get away from, oh, well, you're not supposed to trade dollar for hours and all this stuff that keeps coming up in our coaching sphere. And, we've talked about this a lot. I love to help people. And what I love about the lab is I get the opportunity to really work and craft really great coaching questions and ask them to 488 people at once. Not just one, and watch how that conversation evolves. And so much content can be curated from those responses because somebody will have an aha moment. They might be the 15th person to respond, and that'll create another layer to a problem or an idea that I had that I didn't see beforehand.
And I'll just dig in a little bit more about something that I learned from you and watched you do, which is, so we're doing all this interaction, we're hanging out, we're having a great time with all these people, and they're saying, oh my gosh, Jennie is wonderful. And then every once in a while you post the link inside and it says, here's a link to my, here's a link for my Get Unstuck, my Get Unstuck session.
Yep.
And I'm curious, I'm assuming a certain percentage of people sign up for that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it depends on the time of day, but I get anywhere from 3 to 10 people every time I post one of those that will
Wow.
sign up. But here's the thing. When you haven't worked with a coach before, most of my clients are people who have never worked with a coach before. And for your listeners who are new coaches, the truth is most of the time that's the thing. I mean, unless you're coaching other
Right. I
coaches,
was gonna say,
most
unless you're me and like your clients are coaches.
right,
Exactly.
unless your clients are coaches, right? For the most part, you're coaching people who have never experienced it before. And as coaches, we can quickly forget how scary it is to call that very first coach because you don't know what to expect. The other reason building a community like this is so powerful is people can get a sense of what to expect. And it makes that barrier to entry, it makes that fear smaller. So by the time I post, hey, I have another Get Unstuck Yesterday session, who would like to sign up? I get people willing to sign up and ready because they know what to expect. They already feel like they know me,
So
which is
yeah,
really exciting.
which is great. And so, if you think about, for example, what's interesting is versus email, right? That it's interesting because I think it's hard to build a community solely via email because you could be in a Facebook group and this is one of the things again I learned from you. I could be in there 7, 8, 9 times a day. If I sent out 10 emails, as much as I
Oh,
know you love me, Jenny, if you got 10 emails from me in one day, I would not blame you for unsubscribing.
right. Or, I mean, the truth is, I wouldn't read it, right? I wouldn't read it.
No,
And
no.
what's really exciting about like the Facebook community is that when you do travel over to the Audacity Lab, you don't read one post. You don't read that email, right? You read the timeline for as much time as you have and you kind of fall down the rabbit hole of where the conversations are going. And there's not just conversations, as to make a community thrive, you need to make it really dynamic. So I also have opportunities for people to get together in my monthly badass jam sessions. So we go over to Google Plus Hangouts and hang out, and I do some free coaching to up to 9 people, which is always riotous and a total blast. What a really
Yes.
great opportunity. And then we do very serious work where I'm asking very serious coachy questions like I'm supposed to, but that's only about 50% of the time. The other parts of the time I'm drawing names out of a hat and asking silly questions like, what would your superhero powers be? And asking you on the Friday night happy hours, all kinds of goofy questions open to everybody. So it's also a place to just have some freaking fun because as you and I have talked about it at length, Doug, this whole self-help thing can be way too freaking serious. And one of the things I love about the lab is it gives me that opportunity to showcase my coaching personality, which is not serious and very playful. It's in your face, in your space, but playful, because if we're not having fun, we're doing this wrong.
So that's another big takeaway, be playful, have fun. And then another thing that I've learned from you that I've totally stolen, which is you can also take people outside of the Facebook group, right? And say, hey, I'm doing a Google Hangout, I'm doing a Skype call, I'm doing a teleseminar, I'm doing whatever. So you can interact with people outside of the Facebook group as well.
Exactly. So now I know people are listening to this going, okay, well, that sounds nice, but what the hell? What does it really get me? Well, here's what I'll share with you. I've been running my coaching practice for almost 9 years, and the Facebook community has only just had its 2-year birthday. For the first 7 years of my business, I struggled and networked and blogged and sent newsletters, and every client I got felt like a mountain climb. Now I decide to run a campaign and I can have 10 people coming in for 5 slots in 2 days because I've created that level of engagement where I'm really focused on these people know that I'm generous and I mean what I say. It is the biggest confidence booster for all of those newbies starting out to say, you know what, I have this idea. It's a half-baked idea. Help me co-create this. That's what changed everything. And that's why the lab has been absolutely game-changing for my business.
So I'm just gonna give this as an endorsement for you, Jenny, as well, because I really did learn this from you. Like I just kind of watched you and dissected everything you're doing. And so I did a multi-author book. We just recently launched a multi-author book with 10 authors. And exact same thing. I could never, if I didn't have my community, my Facebook group, I would never have been able to fill it like this. In 2 weeks, I had 20 people interested and filled 10 spots in 2 weeks. There's no way that would have happened without having that Facebook group, that Facebook community. It's exactly true, right? It's what we all want as coaches. We all want to know that we can we can bring in new clients. Like, when we have an opening, we can bring in a new client. So like you said, there's a real payoff to this.
Well, and if I recall, for that book that you were putting together, you didn't promote it anywhere else.
Nowhere
All
else.
you had to do
That's right. Nowhere
was
else.
post it in your group. And that's the key. I can fill a workshop. I can fill my coaching part. I can do whatever I need to do by posting it to this small community. And there's this huge emphasis on you need a list of 10,000 people. You know why you need a list of 10,000 people? Because it's going to a bunch of spam blockers, right? Like
if you really had 10,000 people, I mean, if every one of those 10,000 people was opening your email and dying on your every word, like you'd be a multi-millionaire.
Exactly. And the truth is that there's this big focus on lists because it's a numbers game. I don't play the numbers game. I don't have to. I have a highly engaged community, not a list of people whose email addresses I've captured, though of course I have that too.
Right.
And that supports it, right? I sent out my Monday newsletter, The Shove, which says, hey guys, this is what's happening in the lab, just to remind anybody who doesn't have their notifications on Facebook on to pop by the lab. But it's just a support instead of the lead thing. I think that's a really important detail.
Okay, so Jennie, let's say that I'm listening to this. I'm a coach. I'm like, oh my God, I want to do this. I'm going to start my Facebook group. I start it. I invite myself, and then I invite, my mother, and then, and by the way, invite anyone who wants to have my mother in their Facebook group. Go ahead. But how do I start to build that? If I'm building that from zero, like, how do I start to build up my group?
Well, the first thing you need to do is have a strategy and have some set goals. And that strategy needs to be about what kind of engagement, what will success look like for you? And that's different to everybody. A lot of people, their success, because again, I think it's the coaching world, is tied to the number of humans that are subscribed. That is not how I measure my success. I measure my success by if I've asked a question and I get 15 to 20 responses within 2 hours, that's success to me. Because I'd rather have 20 people highly engaged than 200 people ignoring me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So that's one thing to pay attention to. Then you need your strategy. How much of your time are you going to post what kinds of content? What kinds of questions are you going to post out there that are open-ended and get people to share? Where are you going to be a little more playful and light to bring out the introverts who might be a little more scared? Also, what are your ground rules? What ground rules are you going to set? Is your Facebook group going to be promotion free? Or are you going to have, maybe like I do, I have a once a month self promo day so people can get that crap out of their system and then not fill it up? Are you going to allow people to post pictures of unicorns? Are you going to say, no, I don't want a bunch of memes on here? Figure out what those rules are. And then the biggest, most important piece is, how are you going to show up? In order for this content strategy to work, you have to show up consistently all the time. Every day. And so that ain't for everybody. I totally recognize that. But if you're already hanging out on Facebook anyway, and you can show up and be that, it's awesome. And I will tell you that the days I go on vacation, one of the things I'm so proud of when it comes to the lab is when I go on vacation, I turn over the keys to my community. I do what I call the Audacity LAB Co-op Challenge. And that means Coach Jennie's gone. Everybody else gets to be Coach Jennie for the week and post questions and keep the conversations going. And when I come back from vacation, those are usually my favorite weeks because it's amazing to see what my community has come up with.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm in the Audacity Lab, and I can say, like, it's a great community, and people really rise to the challenge. I was thinking as you were saying that the other piece that's so crazy and brilliant about this is, if I were to say to somebody, "Hey, do you mind if I created an app, and so every time that I post something about maybe 13 times a day, anytime somebody posts in the community, your phone is going to ding. Or your computer is going to ding? Would that be okay with you?" Right? People would be like, "Oh my God, like go to hell." But
kill
yet,
me.
right, kill me. But with Facebook, we don't mind it because, like you said, we're nosy, and it's like you're like, "Oh, what's going on?"
Right. And Facebook groups has that wonderful tool where you can actually say, I don't want all notifications,
Right.
but I want highlights or I want to know only what my friends post.
Right.
And I find most of my clients select one of those two things.
Yeah.
So the highlights, they get at least a ding a day. And my friends post because they all seem to come over because they know somebody. Anybody listening to this is probably going to be like, I know Doug. That's how I got here, when they introduce themselves, right?
Right.
And so you'll probably hear from your friends who come over. And it's really wonderful to see that. The other thing that I forgot to mention, and I'd be so remiss if I missed it, is that when you create a community like this, you are not the only one providing value anymore. If you do it right, and I know, Doug, you're doing it right because I'm also in your community. When you do it right, your community members often show up before you can even get there to support somebody's celebration or to answer somebody's question or to help somebody out. So what's also really, really powerful is when I have that one-on-one conversation via email, it's just between me and you, which is great. But if you have me and my entire community of audacious, ambitious badasses showing up to support you and cheer you on when you're making a big leap, there's nothing better. And I can't think of anything that's better for a coach's brand than that.
You know, one of the things, Jennie, I'd love to do is, I was thinking about it. I mean, today we sort of just touched on really the tip of the iceberg of, you know, why have a Facebook community? What is a community? I'd love to bring you back to a part 2 where we can dig in more about how do you deal with people who, how do you weed out, you know, the bad apples? How do you, you know, what type of posts that, so would you be up for that, to do a part 2 of this, of digging in a little bit more of, I was thinking, like, there's so much more I want to ask you, but we'll go to like 40 minutes.
No, absolutely. Let's do a part 2. I think that would be really great. We'll get super, for the folks that really enjoy this, we'll get super tactical and really help you make sure you have all of the different decisions you need to make listed out.
Cool. And then I want to make sure, you know, that people, your Audacity Lab is wonderful. Please say a little bit about the lab and then tell people how they can find it.
Oh, absolutely. The Audacity Lab, if you go to Facebook and you search for Audacity Lab, you will find it. Lab is an acronym because I'm a coach. We have to use acronyms or we get booted. The acronym stands for League of Ambitious Badasses. And you can also find it on my website. If you go to coachjennie.com and you go to the bottom of every page, there's a link for it there. And the lab is simply a space for my clients, past, present, and future, friends, colleagues, families, and non-client fans to come together into one space to support one another, initiate personal challenges, facilitate new relationships, and make some epic shit happen.
And Jennie Mustafa-Julock, you rock. I have learned so much from you in the time that I've come to know you. One last really funny thing that I wanted to share that I thought was really funny is I was introduced to you through a mutual friend who, I think, I forgot how this came back around, but somebody had said you should meet. She said you have to meet. It was Kara Martin Snyder. I'll give her a shout out. And so we met, and then she said you have to meet Jennie. You have to meet Jennie. And of course, you know, we hit it off so well. And then one of the people from the lab came back and said to Kara, "Oh my God, you have to meet Doug Foresta."
Yes, that's the coolest thing, is when you start seeing people kind of come full circle and you see how tiny the world is. It's very strange. There's you'll have stories where I'll have 2 people that I've met who happen to live down the street from each other. They met in the lab, but they live in Amsterdam. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like your mind's blown. And then, you know, I have one client from the Philippines join, and now I'm starting to get a whole Filipino subset of the lab. It's very exciting.
Jennie Mustafa-Julock, thanks for joining me. I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Doug.
And I want to encourage you to, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, I want to encourage you to go to iTunes. It takes 3 seconds. Go ahead and click subscribe, because you will get Monday through Friday. You'll get some of the best experts in the world sharing with you how to get the message out, how to get your message out to the people that most need to hear it. So I want to encourage you to go to iTunes and click that subscribe button if you are not subscribed to the show. Till next time, we'll be back Monday through Friday with more great guests, helping you to work less, earn more, and help more people. This is Doug Foresta at the Coachzing Show.
Thank you for listening to the Coachzing Show. Subscribe to us via iTunes, and please leave us a review. It helps us grow our awesome tribe. This show is brought to you by Coachzing.com's Speak to Publish book system. If your book is stuck in your head, we can help you get it out in just a dozen hours of your time. Go to Coachzing.com for more information. Have you joined the Coach Zingers community yet? You'll get exclusive access to private mastermind calls where you can get instant marketing help from industry experts. Plus, we'll help you forge deals and partnerships with other like-minded professionals. Go to coachzing.com/community to join now.